When I turned 60, I thought my learning days were behind me. My children were grown, my retirement papers were signed, and life had settled into a comfortable routine. But deep down, I had one regret: I couldn't speak English well. I'd lived in the United States for more than 30 years, but I'd always managed to get by with just a few basic phrases. At the grocery store, I'd smile, nod, and hope the cashier wouldn't start a long conversation. At the doctor's office, I'd rely on my daughter to explain what I couldn't. And when I watched American TV shows, I could only guess what was going on by the expressions on people's faces. One day, I was sitting alone in the park, watching a group of older people chatting and laughing in English. Their conversations flowed so easily, so freely. I wanted that too, the ability to express myself, to join in, to belong. That's when I decided I would train my brain to speak English. At first, it sounded like a crazy idea. Most people my age are trying to remember where they left their glasses, not trying to reprogram their brain to learn a new language. But I'd read somewhere that the brain is like a muscle, it grows stronger the more you challenge it. That line stuck with me. I wanted to see how strong mine could get. The next morning, I made my first move. I took a deep breath, opened YouTube, and searched how to speak English fluently. My screen filled with videos, teachers from around the world smiling into their cameras, promising to help me speak confidently. I clicked on one that said, "Start thinking in English." The teacher in the video was cheerful and clear. She said something that completely changed my mindset: don't study English. Live English. At first, I didn't understand what she meant. But then she explained, instead of memorizing grammar rules and vocabulary lists, surround yourself with English in your daily life. Hear it, see it, speak it, even when you're alone. That day, I decided to give it a try. When I made my morning tea, I whispered, "Boil the water. Add the tea bag. Pour the milk." It felt strange, talking to myself like that, but it also made me smile. For the first time, I was using English in my real life, not just reading it in a book. I changed my phone's language setting to English. Suddenly, everything looked different: my messages, my apps, even the weather updates. At first, I made mistakes and pressed the wrong buttons, but each mistake taught me something new. My brain was starting to adjust. In the evenings, I began watching short English stories on YouTube, stories told slowly, with subtitles. I would pause the video after every sentence and repeat it out loud. I listened carefully to the rhythm, the tone, the way native speakers moved their mouths. Sometimes I'd stand in front of the mirror, practicing those sounds again and again until they felt natural. After a few weeks, something interesting happened. I noticed that I was no longer translating everything into my first language in my head. When I looked at my cup of tea, I didn't think of it in my mother tongue anymore. I just saw it and thought, tea. That tiny change felt huge. Still, there were moments when I wanted to quit. Once, at the pharmacy, I tried to ask the pharmacist about a prescription. I thought I had practiced the sentence perfectly at home. But when I opened my mouth, the words got stuck. The pharmacist leaned in politely and said, "Sorry, could you say that again?" My face burned with embarrassment. I mumbled something and hurried out. That evening, I sat on my couch feeling defeated. Maybe I was too old. Maybe my brain just couldn't handle this anymore. But then I remembered something my grandson had told me when he was learning to ride a bike. "Grandpa, you only fall because you're learning." That memory made me smile. I realized that every time I stumbled over a word, it wasn't a failure, it was part of the training. So the next day, I tried again. This time, I made it a game. I spoke out loud to everything around me. "Good morning, sunshine," I said to the window. "Let's make breakfast," I said to the eggs. I even named my refrigerator Fred, just to have someone to talk to. My daughter thought I was losing my mind, but I was just training my brain to think faster in English. Slowly, I began to notice results when my neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, stopped by one afternoon. She said, "Hi there, how are you today?" Normally, I would have just smiled and nodded. But that day, the words came naturally. "I'm doing great, thank you. How about you?" Her eyes lit up. "Oh, your English is getting good." That compliment filled me with energy. It was proof that my brain was changing. Soon, I added another habit. Every night before bed, I listened to short English podcasts for beginners. I didn't understand everything, but I didn't worry about that. I just let the sounds flow into my ears. My goal wasn't perfection, it was consistency, and then came the turning point. One rainy evening, I went to a small cafe near my house. The waitress asked, "What can I get for you?" Normally, that question would make me freeze. But this time, I smiled and answered without hesitation, "A cup of coffee and a slice of apple pie, please." She nodded and walked away. I sat there, stunned. I had just spoken a full sentence in English, smoothly, confidently, and without fear. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. For the first time, I felt like a part of the world around me. That night, as I walked home under the soft glow of the streetlights, I realized something powerful. The biggest barrier wasn't my age, my accent, or my memory, it was fear. Once I stopped being afraid of making mistakes, my brain started learning faster. The next morning, I looked in the mirror and said, "You can do this." I meant it. I decided to keep a small English journal. Each day, I wrote 3 sentences about my life. Some days it was as simple as "The weather is nice." I took a walk. I feel happy. Over time, those small sentences turned into short paragraphs, and then into full pages. English was no longer just a language, it had become my new way of thinking, my daily workout. My mental gym. But just when I thought I had it all figured out, something unexpected happened, something that tested everything I had learned and pushed my confidence to its limit. A few weeks after that rainy evening at the cafe, my confidence was growing fast. Every day, I made small choices that kept my brain active. I talked to my plants in English, I watched cooking shows without subtitles, and I even started giving English nicknames to my friends. It became fun, like a secret language that only I was getting to master. But one morning, I got a phone call that changed everything. It was from the community center where my daughter volunteered. "Mr. Thomas," the woman on the line said, "we're starting a conversation club for seniors learning English. Would you like to join?" My heart skipped a beat. A conversation club? That meant talking to real people, not just to Fred the refrigerator. My first instinct was to say no. The idea of sitting in a group and speaking English out loud terrified me. What if they laughed at my accent? What if I forgot my words? But then I remembered why I had started this journey, to belong, to connect, to feel alive again, so I said yes. That Thursday, I put on my best shirt and walked to the community center. My hands were shaking, and I could feel my heart thumping in my chest. When I entered the small classroom, I saw 6 other seniors sitting around a table, men and women from different backgrounds, all smiling nervously. The instructor, a young woman named Emily, welcomed us warmly. "Here," she said, handing each of us a name tag, "we don't worry about mistakes. We just talk." Her voice was calm, encouraging, and kind, exactly what we needed Our first topic was simple: what did you do this morning? When it was my turn, I hesitated. Everyone was looking at me. The room went quiet. I could hear my heartbeat. Then I took a deep breath and said slowly, I made breakfast. Toast and eggs. Then I walked here. Emily smiled. That's wonderful, Mr. Thomas. Great job. The group clapped softly, and I felt something warm inside me, a pride. From that day on, I never missed a meeting. We shared stories about our lives, our children, our memories. Each session, my English grew stronger, and my fear grew smaller. One afternoon, we played a game called Describe It. Emily would show us a picture, and we had to describe what we saw without using certain easy words. I got a picture of a beach. My mind went blank for a second, but then I tried. There is big water. Ocean. And people walking. Barefoot. Sand. Everyone laughed and clapped again. That laughter didn't feel cruel, it felt encouraging. It was the sound of people learning together, stumbling together, and cheering for each other. Over the next few months, I noticed that my memory was sharper too. I remembered names, words, and expressions more easily. I could follow conversations on TV shows that once felt impossible. My brain was changing, adapting, growing stronger every day. One evening, Emily told us, speaking English is not just about words. It's about confidence. It's about believing your voice matters. Those words hit me deeply. Because for most of my life, I'd been afraid to use my voice. Now, I was finally finding it. Then came the moment that proved how far I'd come. My daughter invited me to her office's Family Day event. There would be food, music, and, she warned me, a lot of people speaking English. I smiled. That's okay, I said. I think I can handle it. When we arrived, the room was full of chatter. People were laughing, holding plates of food, moving from one conversation to another. A younger man walked up to me and said, "Hi, you must be Sarah's dad. Nice to meet you." A few months ago, I might have panicked. But this time, I extended my hand confidently and replied, "Nice to meet you too. She's told me a lot about you." We talked for 5 whole minutes, about family, weather, even baseball. I didn't need to search for words. They just came. Naturally, later that evening, my daughter whispered, "Dad, your English was amazing. You sounded so confident." I laughed. I trained my brain, remember? That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about how far I had come. From whispering to myself in the kitchen to having full conversations at parties, it felt like magic. But it wasn't magic. It was effort, consistency, and belief. Still, there was one final test waiting for me. A month later, Emily asked if I would give a short talk at the community center's annual Learners' Day. She wanted me to share my English journey with others. I froze for a moment. Speaking to one person was one thing. Speaking in front of a crowd, in English, was something else entirely, but deep down, I knew this was the moment my brain had been training for. I spent 2 weeks preparing my speech. Every day, I stood in front of the mirror and practiced. I recorded my voice, listened, corrected, and practiced again. Sometimes my tongue twisted, sometimes I forgot lines, but I didn't give up. I could feel my brain connecting new pathways, building strength with each repetition. Finally, the big day arrived. The room was filled with people, learners, teachers, families. My palms were sweaty, but I reminded myself, Don't fear mistakes. Just speak. When Emily introduced me, I walked to the front, took a deep breath, and began, "Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thomas. I'm 60 years old, and 2 years ago, I couldn't say more than a few words in English. Today, I'm here to tell you that it's never too late to train your brain." I told them about the tea making, the phone settings, Fred the refrigerator, and the conversation club. People laughed, nodded, and even teared up a little. When I finished, the whole room clapped. Emily hugged me and said, "You're an inspiration, Mr. Thomas." In that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, pride not just in what I'd learned, but in who I had become. Learning English had done more than improve my speech. It had given me new confidence, new friendships, and a new way to see the world. My brain felt sharper, my heart lighter, and my life fuller. Now, every morning, when I make my tea, I whisper in English, "Good job, old man. You did it." And I smile, because I know the journey never truly ends. Every word I speak, every story I hear, every conversation I have keeps my brain young and alive, so if you ever think you're too old to learn, remember my story. The brain never stops growing, and life never stops giving chances if you're brave enough to take them. I didn't just learn English. I trained my brain to believe in me again, and if I could do that at 60, so can you. I share stories like this every day, stories that inspire, teach, and remind us that it's never too late to grow. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.